Well, hey there. Welcome back to the Hole Up Project. It's been a minute. I've been very, very busy. Just got back from 3 weeks on the road. Well, 2.5 anyway. Long enough time. And as you saw in the last video, we ran into a little bit of problem starting the old girl up here. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what we found. Kind of did some off-camera diagnosing and looking, and figured out what the culprit was. I'll show you my little contraption here, and I'll let you guys be the judge. So I pulled the distributor and everything back out, and used a rubber hose with a bolt in it and a hose clamp, because if you remember, that shaft that splines into the bottom of the distributor isn't like a small block or anything else. See, it's got the little flat half moon. So trying to find something to prime this engine, I thought, well, why don't I just jam a rubber hose on it and then put a bolt in the hose and put a socket on that with my impact. It's not a dumb idea if it worked, right? So it worked. And we found the culprit where that oil was leaking. It had a oil plug missing from the back of that other cylinder head over there. 3/8 plug. MIA. So this will work for now. Throw some sealant on it, some thread sealant, and stick it in there, and we're gonna go with that. At least it'll be plugged up. We'll get the engine primed and be able to start it again and actually let it run, do the cam break in and all that stuff. Boy, that was a scary dumpster fire there the first go around, but we got her found. We'll get her plugged up and we'll carry on with it and get this thing rolling over. Also, a couple other problems that we had really bad connections on the battery. Fixed all those, checked the ground, made sure it was good, got a brand new battery in it, and yeah, we didn't get to check much else. So, oh, we also have a coolant leak coming from this upper radiator hose, so gonna have to address that. Also, I just noticed this is 4 weeks worth of growth already, but I had to shave. I had training for SCBA fit testing, so I had to shave, and they said, well, you can have a mustache and all that. So I said, screw it. What, the great big stash? And I mean, it's all growing back in now. You can't see it quite as well, but we'll get the beard back, and I'll just leave a razor in the truck. So anyway, let's get this plug in here. Actually, let me climb up here. I highly doubt you guys are going to be able to see. Oops, see this with the camera. But there is a plug back there in the head that's missing, right on the side of the dipstick tube. So we'll go ahead and get that taken care of here, and I'll be back with you here in a second. All right, got the plug in. So I'll show you here. Basically just take the drill, put it on the rubber hose here. and make sure that that baby's all primed up. That's as good as we can do anyway. It works good enough. All right, well, we're back down here and I'm gonna get back to work on this old girl. Grabbed a few things in the meantime. Got the new upper radiator hose. Actually, that goes this way. Thanks to O'Reilly Auto Parts. That was actually kind of tough to find, but they must have had one hanging out in the warehouse. Found it in the morning, had it in the afternoon. Also got some new 3/4 inch heater hose because one of our hoses was not the right size. So picked up some of that, switched that hose out. Picked up the old single white male switch here. Picked up the old I'm alone and have nobody switch. Picked up the old don't have any friends switch. Picked up the old loser switch here. Picked up the old brother's not in town, gonna try to rig this up myself switch here. Picked up the old my dog doesn't have thumbs switch. And we're gonna go ahead and try to get this hooked up here and see if we can't give this thing another start and hopefully get oil pressure this time. So the plan is, since it's been a few days, we're going to go ahead and reprime it, put the distributor back in. I'll fight with that for an hour, getting it set back right. Switch out our upper radiator hose. Hook up the old single white male switch. And go from there. But first, we're going to pick this shop up because there is just stuff everywhere, and when you want to find something, you can't. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back to this. All right, well, we got the shop picked up a little bit here. It still looks like a mess over there on the table, but it's an organized mess. Otherwise, you know, I can walk around over here and not trip and fall on everything. So we're gonna replace this upper hose, and I think what I'm gonna do, since I'm having oil pressure concerns, obviously we had that giant plug over there missing, which is a huge issue. But even still priming it, drill says that it goes approximately 2,000 RPM. I am going in reverse when priming it because the distributor rotates counterclockwise. So if it's splined to the oil drive, that should be going backwards as well. So that's how I'm priming it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this valve cover off so we can make sure we've got good prime up here. And then we'll throw this upper radiator hose in, drop the distributor back in, and see what happens from there. So I'll pop this off and get back with you here in a minute. Got this valve cover off, and as you can see, I have no oil up here. So we're gonna keep priming this until I see some sort of oil coming up through up into the head up here. I'm not exactly sure. I know these push rods are solid, so we won't get anything up through those, but we should be getting oil from somewhere. I know these things don't make much for oil pressure. I think about 30 psi is the most they make, but man, I would sure think that you'd be getting some oil up here by now. So we're going to set the primer back up here and keep on ripping on priming it until I see something coming up here. Throw our hose back on here. Get this dropped back in its hole here. That's splined back in. Oh, there goes my light. Probably never see that again. know why we're not getting any oil up here. Slightly concerning. Nothing. I don't understand that at all. Well, there's a little bit of oil down on the lifters. I'd like to see a lot more than that though. Don't understand. Let me do some investigation. I'll be back here in a minute. All right, well, we changed up our setup a little bit and used a piece of PEX. So we're gonna try this. It's a little stiffer. Probably won't make any difference, but we're gonna try it. We're gonna try it anyway. All right, well, I think we're making progress here. We actually started getting oil up our tube this time around. I mean, our rubber hose was working, it was just too floppy, and I don't know if we were fully engaged. So what's going on here is if this pushes too far, obviously, onto this drive, it's pulling the tip out of the oil pump. And we're building a little bit of heat, so my PEX tube expanded and ended up pushing down the deal. So I mean, I don't think we can get away with trying to clamp it. I wouldn't want to put a clamp or nothing down there, but let me see if I can do something to shrink this back down. I mean, I know we're using our super crappy tube here, but we had oil working its way up through the 850,000 coils of garbage here. So we'll just keep an eye on it, keep working at it, and I'll show you guys as we go here. All right, so basically I just cut the expanded part off and started again. We're just gonna keep nipping this thing down until we've got a good prime. Oh, dang it. Bolt came out. Yeah, I know, this is super ghetto. But I'm telling you what, that pump, once it starts getting pressure, you can really tell it lags that drill quite a bit. Starts really pushing. I'm hoping that we're gonna start getting a prime here soon. Okay, here's the new plan. Here's our oil drive. Here's one out of a spare oil pump from the house. This meshes with the end of that. So I'm assuming this one should work down in that oil pump. So I'm gonna put this one in and use my long flathead to prime it. Yeah? Good talk. All right, let's try this. If this don't work, I'm gonna pull this engine out and give it to one of you lucky subscribers. You can have it. Okay, so, oh, there goes my everything, just fell. Don't let me forget to get that because it went down into Neverland Ranch down there. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this one down into the hole here. Okay, Hopefully that didn't go too far down in. Nope. All right, that one's down in there. Now, let's see if we can get the flathead. See if we can get the flathead splined into it. You guys just hang out there for a minute and watch me struggle. All right. That is all splined together. All right, here we go. You guys can watch our oil pressure right here. We got 10. My work phone's ringing. Nobody important. We can ignore that. We're getting oil pressure. Now we need oil to get to this cylinder head. But I tell you what, there's a lot of oil flowing down in this distributor hole. I don't know how we're not getting oil up here yet. Let's check for leaks. Shall we? I'm not seeing any. That's good. We're making 10 psi, a little over 10 psi at the gauge. We still don't have any on this driver's cylinder head. Ooh, we're starting to get some. Hold on a minute. Hold the phone, folks. Hold the phone. What do we got there? See it? Probably not. Can you see it now? How about now? Look right here. Real close. Scoot closer if you have to. We're getting oil. Not much, but we're getting oil. You guys keep an eye on that. I'm gonna keep going. Now really, in theory, what you should do is turn this crank, move this crankshaft like 90 degrees as you're doing this. You know, hold it for a while, move the crank, hold it for a while, move the crank. But we're not gonna do that. Good news is we're getting oil pressure. Fantastic. I would assume that with that crank down there spinning, along with the oil pump, we're going to be getting more than 10, which would bring more oil up to the top end of this as well. I would like to see a lot more oil up here. These things take a long time to prime. So we'll keep at it, and we'll be back here in a minute. All right, we've got a pretty decent prime going, I do believe. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and see if I can screw around with this distributor for the next 2 hours. All right, distributor's back in. Hopefully lined up. It appeared to be good. Try to get this reset here. The hell happened to my plug wires? Look at that mess. Lord, what happened? coil wires, all sorts of goofy. Spin it that way. Where's your little hole? Come on now, don't be shy. Oh, for Pete's sake, there it is. Jeepers criminy. Okay, so I think the next part of the plan, I'm going to leave this valve cover off. So I can monitor for oil. I think I'm just gonna, yeah, that's still not right. I think I'm just going to crank it to start with without the coil hooked up. Maybe that was right. I don't know. I don't know what's going on tonight. I'm just... apparently losing my mind. There, jeepers criminy. Waste half the night screwing around with this thing. But that's pretty common. That's why we're the Hole Up Project. It takes us 3 times as long as everybody else to do anything. That's okay. We still have fun doing it. Didn't get that locked. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's carry on with it here. We've got to hook this guy back up. I've got my green wire all sorts of looped around everything here. So let me fix that. Got to be able to monitor our coolant temperatures with our idiot light. We'll just throw that over the top for now, because I love redoing everything multiple times. Where'd our coil wire go? Put him back on so I don't forget. Okay. Still don't have as much oil as I want to have up here. All right, we'll just set that thing up there. I need to get a throttle return spring for this thing. Plug wires. Tuck this wire over there somewhere. What's next? Oh, we gotta replace this upper radiator hose. And all we have in this is just water, so if I dump a bunch on the floor, I'm not too concerned about it. That's what shop drains are for. Disconnect all this Husker do's and Husker don'ts with or without the scooter stick. Go ahead and dispose of that properly. Might need those hose clamps though, unfortunately. Well, yep, I sure do. Dang it. Get that baby on there. Throw this side up here. Can always count on O'Reilly's to come through in the clutch for you. Tell you what, I've historically used O'Reilly's for the better part of the last 15 years. I don't mind Napa's. Napa's are pretty good too. I don't use AutoZone very often. There's one on the side of town closest to me, but for whatever reason I have a weird thing with Duralast parts. Just never really had super great luck with them. They're probably fine, but the couple that I've used, batteries and sensors of random sorts, they don't last very long. All right, there's our shiny new upper rad hose. Go ahead and throw some more water in the tank here. And with a little luck, maybe it won't drip out of that upper hose anymore. That'd be neat. All right, well, we're not leaking there. Let's check on the oil here. Make sure we've got plenty of that. Just a tiny bit low. Should be all right though. Let's test this, make sure I've got it hooked up right. Nope, obviously I've got that not hooked up right. So that's neat. I like to have somewhere to put these plug wires to where they're not laying on top of that valve train. But anyway, you guys watch this oil pressure gauge. I'm just gonna crank it a little bit and see if we get any oil pressure. Oh, you know what else I need to do? I need to put a cap right there on the fuel pump. Well, what do you suppose? Do we try to start it up? I suppose we could. Oh, fart. All right, well, let freedom ring. Let it ring again. Well, she wants to go. turn spring, this would be a lot easier. I didn't want to leave her go very long because I still didn't see any oil pressure, which bothers me. So we're gonna wait until I have a helping hand down here, because I can't run. I gotta be using the gas pedal. Obviously, I didn't hook my Lone Wolf, my loser switch, my single white male switch, my scooter stick, my Husker do and or Husker don't correctly. So that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wait till we've got a helping hand down here, and we're gonna resume this this mission to figure out if this thing's gonna be nice to us or not. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you here shortly. All right, well, here's where we're at. I think I've got this thing pretty primed up. Face looks all dirty. I called in Mr. Rich Galen. He's gonna come down and give me a hand. And I think what we're gonna do, I disconnected the pedal from the carb so we can just control the carb up here. And I think we're just gonna go for it. If things start sounding real bad, well, I don't know. Whoops. Can't have that playing. We're just gonna go for it. We're gonna rev her up, get that crank spinning, get oil sloshing on the cam. I don't want to turn this over or try to start it anymore until that crank is splashing that camshaft with oil. So it's either gonna work or it's not. I don't know what else to try. I know that that pump is cranking out plenty of oil. We got 10 psi just off the drill, so we're just gonna go for it. So when Galen gets here, fingers crossed, hopefully she don't blow up. If it does, I guess I caught it on camera. So I'll get back to recording when Galen gets here, and we'll see what happens. All right, do you want the carb or do you want the trigger?
I'll let you run your RPM. That way you can't yell. Ready?
All right, here we go. Let freedom ring. That didn't sound very good, did it? Did it? Was that backfiring?
Sound like it.
I'm not sure on this either.
Oh yeah, it's fucking all backwards.
Yeah, it's backwards.
You ready?
Yep. All right. Well, you just seen us shut that down real quick. And I came over and shut the camera off because I knew we were going to be in for a long haul of diagnosing. I don't know what RPM we had the engine at, but I'm guessing it was at least 1,000, and we had no oil pressure on the gauge still. So I'm going to walk you through. You might as well grab a beverage of your choice and sit down on the couch and kick your feet up. Zoom in on the TV. Pardon me. Because this is going to be a little bit long and drawn out. But in case any of you guys ever run into this problem, this is a good learning moment. Didn't fry the engine that I know of. But I will show you what we found. So essentially, we've got the drill back in, and I figured I'd pull this valve cover back off after we had the engine running, and nothing had changed. It was still dry. So then the question was, why are we not getting oil up here, and where is it supposed to come from to get oil up here? So I busted out the manual and started reading. While I was doing that, Rich Galen was over here and called me over, and he says, "Hey, why don't we have any oil coming up through these push rods over here?" And I said, "Well, those are solid push rods. There's no hole in the middle of them." And he asked me, "Well, there's a hole in the back of the rocker arm." And I said, "Well, yeah, there is, but there's no hole in the push rod." So I unbolted the rocker arm rail, pulled that off, and pulled out the push rods just to verify, make sure that maybe I wasn't blind when I put this together or something and they were just plugged with oil sludge. But indeed, they are solid lifters. So back to the book we went, and I'll show you this here. This does a fairly good job breaking it down. There's a bunch of reading that you can do that explains what you're looking at here, essentially. So hopefully you guys can see this. So here's the oil pump. Oil comes up through into the filter, back out of the filter, and then makes its way up this passage. That's the oil pressure switch up here. Then you've got your oil passages on this side and this side. They're the dark line. So on the passenger side, you can see right here it comes up, over, and then up, and this is representing the rocker arm shaft, and you can see the rocker arms right here, and sets it too. So essentially we were like, okay, well, where's that at? But we were looking at the opposite side. So you can see from the back side here, that dark line runs across, comes up, over, and then up into that rocker arm shaft. Well, the only thing we could think was that it came up through this bolt. So I unbolted the whole rocker arm shaft. We pulled it off. And the bolts that hold this down are tapered. So I slid a bolt through the rocker arm shaft and looked at it from the bottom side. There's about a 1/16 of an inch tolerance all the way around that bolt. So that's where the oil is supposed to come up through. Initially, I thought that my brother and I had used thread sealing paste on all these bolts, which I called him and confirmed we did. So I thought, shit, this was our fault, you know, because of that. So I cleaned all these bolts up. There was almost no thread sealant on them anymore. And then I took my my inspection camera and put it down this hole, and there was nothing left down in the threads or anything down there. There was no blockages down in the hole, and you could see the oil passage off to the side where it comes up through the blocking head and then up this hole. So with this whole thing apart, I ran the drill. We had a ton of oil coming up through this hole. And essentially, that oil comes up through this hole, runs down through the center of the rocker arm shaft, and oils everything on its way. So I thought, okay, let's put this back on, torque all the bolts, 65, 70 foot-pounds, and run the drill again now that I've cleaned the threads and everything on the bolts once again. Ran the drill, still no oil up here at all. So we pulled this bolt out, left it out, and ran the drill. Plenty of oil coming up through, spilling everywhere, coming down the shaft, the rocker arm shaft. Galen held his thumb over the hole, ran the drill. There was still plenty getting down through the rocker arm shaft, all as well. Put the bolt back in, torque it, no oil up here at all. This whole time, watching this gauge, we still never made it past 10, 11 PSI on the gauge. So what I'm thinking is that our oil pump is pumping. It's just, hold on, we have another one coming. All the diesels tonight. It's been absolutely non-stop. So anyway, what I believe is happening, once we put this bolt in, that oil pump is not creating enough pressure to get the oil past this bolt and up through that tight tolerance. Anybody else want to drive a diesel by? With that bolt, I mean, it's the same thing as standing there with a garden hose in your hand and just watching the water flow out. And then, you know, you put your thumb over it. It's supposed to create all the pressure. And, you know, that's essentially what this bolt is doing. Unbelievable. Diesel parade just went by apparently. So anyway, this bolt, that oil should make it past those tolerances and oil the top end of this engine, and it's not. So the only thing that I can think is that either the pump is not putting out the right amount of pressure, it's getting old and weak, something happened to it while the car sat forever, the oil pressure regulator in the oil pump has something wrong with it, or something of that nature. So basically, back to square one. I'm gonna pull the oil pan off with the engine in the car, pull the oil pump, and go from there. Just tried to quick look up the pumps. You can buy a rebuild kit. They're around 180 bucks, which is ridiculous. You can buy a new pump. They're about $400. That was Caddy Daddy's price, and you can bet your sweet money that I'm not buying jack from them anymore. So yeah, that's where we're at. And just to give you an update. So if any of you guys have one of these 390s or rebuilding one, I know there's a couple of you that have reached out that are. Hopefully you don't run into this issue, or you were smart enough to replace the oil pump during the rebuild. I was not. So now I'm getting my butt kicked by it. Hopefully nobody's asleep, and I don't know, maybe you've gone through 3 or 4 beverages by now, but that's where we're at. And I'm not going to have time this week to pull that oil pan and stuff off, so I think my brother is coming to town hopefully this weekend, and we can start digging into it. I got to drop the exhaust and stuff, but hopefully it's not too big of a pain. And we'll bring you along when that happens. But this will be the conclusion of this video, unfortunately. So, appreciate everybody watching. Feel free to subscribe, like, thumbs up, do the things. And we'll see you in the next one.